Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico.
Good morning.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, y'all.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address, and understand we reserve the right not to address it if we don't deem it appropriate for the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And the good news is, this tip link is actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're actually listening to our show a little bit later in the day on our podcast feed, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go and subscribe to our podcast feed right now so the audio version will be there when you need it. Or if you're watching the show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a comment or question using this tip link, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down, let's get things started with this. You know, I think the best DC show ever on television, with all due respect to my beloved Arrowverse and all due respect to Smallville, I think Peacemaker, a show I thought looked like garbage, a show I thought was the dumbest idea in the world to make. Who the hell would care about a Peacemaker show? That's what I thought. Then I watched it, and lo, my eyes were opened to the glory of Eagly. And I fell in love with the show. Greatest opening musical number of all time. Cannot wait for the second season to come. Now, they've been hard at work making it, and now we got an update. They're done. They're finished shooting season 2, as James Gunn updated everybody. After shooting for more than half a year, James Gunn announced on social media that Peacemaker season 2 has officially wrapped filming, with the DC studio co-CEO having pulled double duty throughout 2024 by directing episodes of the new season while also working on Superman. How he did that, I have no idea. Gunn's full statement is as follows. And that is a wrap on Peacemaker Season 2, including our last remaining actor, Steve Egg. By the way, he's great in this show. I love him in this. Tim Meadows, Sol Rodriguez, and Brandon Stanley, and our DP, Sam McCurdy, pictured here moments after the last shot. Thanks to our entire cast and crew who made this wonderful experience. And there, get a shot of them on the final shot of Peacemaker. Now, I was thinking when I saw this story about it now being done, it's shot. Now, some people may ask when it's coming out. Still not coming out for one baby. It's coming out in 9 months. So we still got a ways away. August of 2025. They haven't given us an exact date yet, but August of 2025 is when the show comes back. What is it that makes this show so special that, like, to me, makes it the best thing DC's ever put on television? I think there's a couple things. Number one, clearly the humor. The humor is the main driving engine of Peacemaker for me. But the second thing is James Gunn, and this was really reflected in his Suicide Squad movie as well, and in his Guardians of the Galaxy films. He finds ways to take this ludicrous ridiculousness and actually build real heart into it, and you actually care about the character. Like, it's one thing to just put out great fun jokes, but he finds a way in the midst of all that to make you care about the characters, appreciate what's going on, and then laughing every 10 to 15 seconds. I mean, a great example of that, I know I go back to this one a lot, but in Suicide Squad, that moment where King Shark is in the van and he's just looking on the street and seeing couples holding hands and holding each other, and there's not even any dialogue in it. Just the cut back to the expression on his face, like he told so much story in that moment. And then they're having a competition of the most creative ways to kill people. I mean, so that's that. And I think that was one of the special things about it. Anyway, Chris, we now have Peacemaker Season 2. It's done shooting. It's still 9 months away. And by the way, he confirmed again that the events of Season 2 will take place after the events of the new Superman movie. So that's there. But what do you think about this announcement? How long we have to wait for it? And why do you think this show has been such a hit for them?
9 months. There's going to be so many baby announcements before the show
Yes,
comes
there
out.
are.
Gross. I hate it. I love that this show is coming back. I love this show so much. I think it is an absolute delight. And I absolutely agree with you. It does such a great balance of wacky weirdness with absolute heart. And I think a lot of that is a testament to James Gunn's trust in John Cena. I don't think any of us going into the show were like, John Cena, what a high caliber actor. He's fun, He's great and stuff. This show proved that if you give him some really solid material, he can deliver. Not only is he playing piano in this himself, not only is he dealing with really difficult dad issues in this, not only is he handling action and comedy, he's also leading an ensemble. He's number one on a call sheet, and he's delivering.
Yeah.
And he does it so well. And I think that James Gunn does a really great job of finding talent and figuring out how to best highlight them. We've seen it in Guardians. We've seen it with this. We've seen it in his other features before. I mean, Slither. Gosh, he assembled a great cast, and he's so good at this kind of thing, which makes me more excited for the DCU that he's building. Ultimately, how he's handled Peacemaker and his previous work as well just makes me so pumped for what he's doing. And I know with every new announcement, everyone tends to get a little anxious of like, is this too many people?
Yeah.
Is this the world that we want to be seeing? Is this the Superman we want? Crypto, why is he here? I trust this dude so much. And I've wanted the DCU to be great for so long, and I'm really jazzed about it. And I think that Peacemaker is such a wonderful little brick in the world that he is building here, and I can't wait to watch a new season of it.
You know, the one thing you mentioned there, I think, is the thing I appreciate about James Gunn the most, because it's one thing to be a director and trying to direct a great actress like Zoe Saldana, right? Okay, that's fine. But you, alongside of her, you got to direct a guy who, remember, back when Guardians was coming out, Dave Bautista, who, by Dave Bautista's own words to me, where I'm no thespian, right? Like, I think the greatest strength that James Gunn has as a director is his ability to take his performers and put them in the best positions to succeed, and not putting them in positions that exposes what their weaknesses might be.
Yeah.
He did with Dave Bautista. He's done it with great actors. And then he did the exact same with John Cena. Like, I'm certain there are probably some things maybe he could have done with Peacemaker had he had another lead actor, but he knows exactly how to bring the best out of his performers, not expose their weaknesses, and it just creates for this great viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really cool to see how this turns out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn has now wrapped on season 2 of Peacemaker. We're still not getting it for 9 months, but what do you think about it? Are you looking forward to the second season? I know I am. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Of course, Wicked opened this weekend. Yesterday, we talked about how it broke several box office records, became the 3rd biggest opening film of the year, only behind Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. It's became the largest Broadway to movie adaptation opening of all time. Some November records, all this kind of stuff. Well, lest you thought it was just the weekend, Wicked has just set another impressive box office record, beating out even things like Frozen and stuff like that. This comes from Deadline. It says, before Moana 2 rains a monsoon of cash, Universal's Witches musical Wicked will not go quietly into the night. In fact, yesterday, the Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande movie was grand indeed, with a studio reported $15.8 million. That's the best Monday ever for November. Better than Frozen 2, that made $12.7 million. Better than The Hunger Games Catching Fire, that made $12.3. Better than Skyfall's first Monday, that made $11.3. And bigger than the post-COVID's Black Panther Wakanda Forever, that made $11.1 on its first Monday. Wicked shoots up to $120.1 million domestically through 4 days. I think this is massively significant, because there's a lot of movies that can come out that you might just think have some people's interest. They'll go out to see it opening weekend, and then we see it fall off quickly. For a movie like Wicked, again, a movie that I think is absolutely fabulous. Like, I cannot believe how much I like this movie, to be honest with you. For a movie like Wicked to hit $15 million, which, by the way, might end up being, for its Monday total, bigger than Craven's opening weekend. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. And I'm looking forward to Craven, but 15.8, its Monday total might be better than Craven's opening weekend total. Is impressive. And the fact that it was able to pass films that are ahead of it in opening weekend and all-time box office, like films like Frozen 2, films like Skyfall, films like Catching Fire, these massive November movies, And the fact that it was able to actually pass it on the Monday, I'm not saying that means it's going to make as much money as Frozen 2 overall, not at all. But I'm just saying that's pretty impressive, especially going into the week that Moana's coming out. Because let's face it, Wicked, Gladiator 2, they're going to face some pretty strong headwinds this weekend with Moana coming. I'm actually going to see Moana in 3 hours. I'm going to go see Moana in 3 hours. So, and I'm excited about it, but it's going to face some pretty strong headwinds. So it's important for it to make as much money up front as it can. Anyway, Chris, you saw that. What do you think about the box office totals? And what do you think about this Monday record it just set?
Oh man, I love how so many people going into this. We're like, who cares about Wicked?
Nobody cares. No one's going to go see Wicked.
See a musical. So many people want to see a musical. Oh my gosh, so many people want to see the show. It is beloved. It has sold so many theater tickets. Every theater kid you've ever known sang this song in your face so loudly at a Denny's at 2 a.m. It's very important culturally. We're all holding space for it. I think that this is a really great sign for movies also. When they are events, we will go to the theater.
Yeah.
You'll just have to entice us with good stories, you know? And this does so many great things. It adapts something in such a beautiful way. It yes-ands it and heightens some really emotional moments in a gorgeous way. And it makes you want to see it again. You want to go back and see this over and over again. I can't wait till the sing-alongs come out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I do think it is a lot of pressure for Moana to do well, especially since this was a Disney Plus series that then became a film, which I do think is the right move for it. I think that's how you make money, is you put it in a big screen. And it definitely has the audience. I just wonder how it's going to compete with this. I'm hoping that people will have kind of an apples and oranges situation of, even though Wicked, for the most part, is a fairly family-friendly movie, I think that Moana is going to get a lot of people going to take their kids, again, having repeat visits of that. You've got the Thanksgiving week, everything to get people to get their butts in seats and get out of your house, because that's a lot of family to deal with. So I'm hoping it does well, but I really feel like Wicked is going to continue to dominate.
You think so?
I think so.
Ooh, I see. I hope it continues to do well. I have a feeling
You think Moana's going to sneak it out?
I think Moana is going to put a trouncing on both Gladiator and
that
Wicked.
nacho boat has a real big pull. So
It's pretty big. By the way, I just want to throw out this Cal L, and one of our viewers, Cal-L, put in a $50 super chat badge. Thank you, Cal L. Appreciate that, man, very much. So yeah, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, it just set this record that even movies that were far ahead of it, like Frozen 2, couldn't do, like over 15 million on its Monday. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this. You know, one of the Star Wars things that I'm really excited about and really looking forward to is Skeleton Crew. And man, we need something really good. We need something real good, because not since Andor have we had great Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus. I mean, Obi-Wan had promise and it disappointed. Ahsoka had promise and it disappointed. The Acolyte straight up sucked. I mean, so we need something good here. And this looks terrific. Like, I was kind of enthused by it when I heard that John Watts was doing it. John Watts, who of course directed the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. He did, I finally watched Wolves. He did a really good job on Wolves.
Isn't it fun?
Why did that not go to theaters?
I'm so mad about it, because no one talks about it, and it's great.
Yeah, it just kind of quietly went anyway. So he did a great job on that. I've been excited about this because he's the guy running it. So it's like, okay, we're off to a good start. Then that first trailer came out. I thought, this looks really charming. Then the second trailer came out, and I was in love with it already. Cannot wait. Now, Disney's let us know a couple of interesting things about it. 3 things. 1, they've moved up the release date by a day, but we're going to talk about that. Also, they've got the full episode list with the director's list as well, and who's directing which. This comes to us from the folks over at Gizmodo, who write the following. Adjust your calendars accordingly. Disney has decided that Skeleton Crew is exiting hyperspace ahead of schedule by a whole day. Now, instead of dropping next week on December 3rd, the latest Star Wars series will launch a 2-episode premiere a day prior to December 2nd, which I am told by the other people in the office that is a Monday. So it's going to drop on Monday. But the other episodes will come out on Tuesday. They're just moving this one up by a day. The Disney accompanied news with a full list of the rollout for the series, as well as revealing which episodes are directed by the litany of behind-the-camera talent we knew were coming to the series. Check out the full schedule below. So here's the schedule. Episode 1, coming out on Monday, directed by John Watt himself. So John Watts himself is directing the first one. Then David Lowery is directing the second and third episodes. David Lowery directed The Green Knight, the Dev Patel movie, The Green Knight. And he also directed A Ghost Story. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Then episode 4, directed by the Academy Award winning directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Daniels are directing episode 4. Jake Schreier, I never know how to pronounce his name.
Pretty sure Schreier.
Schreier. He directed the series, the limited series that won all the Emmys, Beef.
All right.
That won like every Emmy possible. He directed that. Then one of my favorites, Bryce Dallas Howard, is directing the 7th episode, or the 6th episode, I should say. Absolutely love her. Then we got Lee Isaac Chung, who directed Minari and also did a really good, surprisingly good job directing the newest Twisters movie.
Yeah.
That was out. So he's great. And then just like he is directing the initial episode, he's also directing the finals. Episode 8 on January 14th, John Watts directs the finale. So I am very excited about that. Oh, being reminded by people in the live chat, rightfully so, that Jake is also directing the Thunderbolts film. Mm-hmm. So he's all in on Disney there. So I love this. I'm excited even by a day getting it more in advance. I love the director's list that they've got here. I love that John Watts himself is directing the first episode and the final episode. I love Bryce Dallas Howard being a part of this. I like that you got a really diverse group of storytellers, because when you go through their resumes, like Beef, Minari, Thunderbolts, Ghost Story. You know, I just kind of love that they're bringing that type of a scope to this. I cannot wait to see this. And there's a new poster for it. Did we get the poster for that up there, Jonathan? Yeah, there it is. The new poster, Jude Law. By the way, that was the other thing that got me really excited, but I love Jude Law. I'm a huge Jude Law fan, so I'm really excited to see him in this. And I love that one thing in the new TV spot where the kids say to him, "You're a Jedi, right?" "Yeah, sure." Which is great. Anyway, can't wait to see this, Chris. A whole lot of information they just gave us. What's your impressions?
Oh man, I love the book ending of John Watts here,
me
of
too.
setting the tone for us and then closing us out. I think that is so smart. Love everything he does. And to your point, yeah, this is a wildly diverse list of directors here who do such interesting storytelling. And no matter what they're doing, though, even though you do have these big swings, like a Twisters in there with the Minari kind of thing, you always have this great thumbprint from each of these creators. They always have their own spin on stuff, particularly when you look at like Bryce Dallas Howard's things. She has such a specific Star Wars kind of tonality that she brings to the table. I can't wait to see what the Daniels do. God, I hope that episode's so weird.
Me too.
I hope they get so absolutely bananagrams on that one. I know I keep saying it. It's Space Goonies. It's Space Goonies, and I really
But that's
honestly,
not a bad thing.
No, and
that's
I don't.
a good thing.
I don't care what they do. I'm just so excited about that concept. I have wanted Star Wars to be fun again for so long. I love that we have Andor and it's serious. I love that we have spy thriller within the Star Wars universe. And I know no one else in this room liked the episode with Jack Black and Lizzo of The Mandalorian. But listen, sometimes I want Star Wars to be weird and goofy. Sometimes I want it to have some silliness and heart. And I think having a show with these young kids going out on this quest, having an absolute rogue, a scallywag like Jude Law's character here is fun. Star Wars was a children's fantasy at first, and it's morphed into something much bigger than that, and that's great. But sometimes I want it to just be a really fun fantasy show that is just parading as sci-fi. At the end of the day, it's wizards and magic and belief. And you can dress that up with all the midichlorians and sci-fi talk you want, but I want it to have that heart and soul every now and then too, of just being a fun fantasy epic that's a real good time, that has a child's wonder and joy behind it. And I really feel like that's what we're going to get here.
Yeah, I think Andor is, I've said before, I'll say it again, it's the best thing Star Wars has ever made since the original trilogy. Easily to me. By far. It's just masterful storytelling. But, to Chris's point, I would not use the word fun to describe it.
No.
I mean, it's more like watching, Succession in space and stuff like that. It's a heavy adult. It's Star Wars for grown-ups, and I love it. It's the best thing ever, but it ain't. I wouldn't describe it as fun. And you're right, Star Wars needs to have that. Star Wars should be many different things.
Yeah.
But one of the core elements it's got to have is fun. Obi-Wan had the potential to be fun. Didn't deliver it. Ahsoka had the potential to be fun. Didn't deliver it. The Acolyte had potential to be fun. Didn't deliver it. So this looks like it does. Because you know what? I already have fun just watching the trailers.
Yeah.
So here's hoping hope will be restored. Cannot wait. Monday.
Yes.
Monday. I'm so excited
You
about
know
it.
what? I was going to say one thing. Counter programming is important.
Yeah.
Only because we have a bunch of new kids coming up, or a new generation. And you might not suck them in with Andor, like they still want to have that Star Wars fun, like Chris was saying. So like counter programming is very important. As long as it's good, I believe everyone should be involved in a property as loved as Star Wars.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about this thing too, and I've said it before, is that Star Wars is a vast, countless worlds, vastness of space galaxy where you should be able to tell every kind of story.
Yeah.
Star Wars should not have one tone. It should be a multiple. And my biggest complaint about Star Wars the last 20 years or so has Star Wars and Lucasfilm have just continuously been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking the Star Wars universe. Skeleton Crew feels like it expands it. And Andor felt like it expanded a bit. So here's hoping it delivers and doesn't turn into another Acolyte, because I had real high hopes for the Acolyte too, and look how that turned out. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The director's list, the moving up a day. We're getting in earlier than we thought. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to the next couple of stories. We still got to talk about Christopher Nolan is starting to put together what might be the most impressive cast in the history of film, and he's just added Charlize Theron to his new film. Also, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who I love, just said one of the stupidest things I've ever heard said. Anyway, we're going to talk about those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Mando. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mando. Thank goodness it is football season. It's time for tailgates, touchdowns, and Sunday cookouts with the crew. But unfortunately, along with the drinks and the food, sometimes you also bring along your odor. And that is why Mando whole body deodorant should be an absolute tailgate game day essential. And that's why Mando's the MVP. It's clinically proven 72-hour odor control, so it's perfect for long days at the game or at the bar. I'm loving the Clover Wood scent, but they've got options like bourbon leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and even unscented if you prefer to go stealth mode. I like to use it after the shower, before the gym, or even important meetings. It's that reliable. And right now, Mando's got a killer deal. New customers get $5 off their best-selling starter pack with my exclusive code CAMPEA. That's over 40% off. Just go to shopmando, that's shopmando.com, and use the code CAMPEA. Seriously, guys, if you want a deodorant that's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and just works better than anything else you've tried, it's time to make the switch to Mando. So don't wait. Control body odor anywhere with Mando. Head over to shopmando.com and use the code CAMPEA and get $5 off your starter pack. Trust me, you're going to love it. That's at shopmando.com. Go and check it out now. And thank you to our friends at Mando for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to this, shall we? Almost as much as a new James Bond, a new Star Wars, a new MCU film, the world of film gets really excited about an upcoming Christopher Nolan film. And it doesn't hurt that he's coming off of arguably one of the biggest successes of his career with Oppenheimer, both at the Oscars, financially was huge, all that kind of stuff. Well, now he's got a new film coming out in 2026. Right out of the gate, they announced big names. Matt Damon was going to be a part of it, and Tom Holland joined it. And it's like, oh my God. Since then, we've heard that Tom Holland, Zendaya's joining him, Robert Pattinson, who of course worked with him before, Lupita Nyong'o, Anne Hathaway, like all have been joining him. And now we got the newest Oscar winner joining the new film. As the Hollywood Reporter is letting us know that Charlize Theron has joined. Charlize is joining the Nolanverse. The Oscar winner is the latest A-list talent to join Christopher Nolan's new feature. Matt Damon, Zendaya, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, and Anne Hathaway, and I'll bet money that they're not done announcing names, are all set to star. Universal Pictures had no comment on the casting. Christopher Nolan himself wrote the script and is directing the project, which Universal will distribute. The studio has set a release date of July 17th, 2026. So the movie's only like a year and a half away. That's usually we're used to hearing these early things about movies. It's going to come out in a couple of years, 3 years, whatever. This movie's like a year and a half away, which is great. Look, Oppenheimer had a fabulous cast. Absolutely did. This one may top it. Because like I said, I don't even think they're done yet. I still think we're going to get one or two more big names. I don't know that. Not insider information, just me speculating as a fan. But I think we're going to get one or two more names announced on this as well.
If I was an actor and I would actually be like, I better get that call, that Nolan call. Like this cast is becoming so big and like it's filled with such big names. I would love, if I was an actor, would love to be called up into this movie.
But here's the cool thing about Christopher Nolan films. These aren't just big names. These are world-class talent names. Oscar winner, Anne Hathaway. Oscar winner, Lupita Nyong'o. Oscar winner, Charlize Theron. Oscar winner, Matt Damon. Emmy winner, Zendaya. People's Choice Kids Award, Tom Holland.
Hell yeah!
I love Tom Holland. I'm not trying to bag on Tom Holland. I mean,
You just made the list.
Robert Pattinson. I mean, this is like everybody he's adding is absolute world-class talent. And Christopher Nolan, like even in Oppenheimer, like out of nowhere, some small role, Oscar winner Rami Malek shows up. It's like that's what Christopher Nolan populates his movies
And it
with.
was it was such a small role because I remember seeing him in the trailer
Like
and
2
it
or
was
3
like
scenes.
he passed the message.
Yeah.
I honestly would be offended if I was an actor if I would then get called up.
Like this, like I'm not on that echelon. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. What's standing out to you?
Well, I am offended, Ray. Why? No, I'm nowhere near this echelon. If they need a silly voice or a fart joke, call me, Christopher. I think this is great. Well, how could you respond any other way to Charlize Theron? I mean, she's an incredible actress. She is doing so much producing lately too.
Yeah.
But her 2025-2026 slate has at least 6 films in it, which is just great. I want to see her in more things. I think she's such an incredible talent. She's an amazing action star. She can do it all. So I'm interested to see how she's going to be utilized in this film because this is such a stacked cast. And yeah, it does feel like the Oppenheimer ensemble of, hey, let's get everyone who is an award-winning actor right now and pop them in the same movie and see what happens. It's an embarrassment of riches, honestly. And hopefully whatever they make just lives up to the talent that is all involved here.
And to add on that, personally, for me, every Christopher Nolan film that I've watched, I've liked. Even Tenet, like I've liked.
He hasn't made a movie I haven't liked yet.
Yeah, and I look forward to this director's movies more than any other director. I just enjoy what he tries to do and what he does, and I cannot wait to hear more about this film because we don't have a title, we don't have a subject yet, right?
We don't have anything. I mean, there's people speculating that it's a vampire movie, but nobody knows anything for certain right now.
Vampire children's blocks, it doesn't matter. I will watch anything he wants to do.
Wait,
By the way,
vampire children's blocks? I think you might have something there.
what was the one thing we said about a children's thing?
let's.
Oh, I can't remember something. Anyway.
Yeah.
But by the way, somebody was kind of pointing out, I do want to point out here the comic book connection here, because in this movie is MJ, Catwoman, the best thespian on Asgard, Batman, Spider-Man, and the director of the Batman films. The only one kind of left out of there right now is Lupita Nyong'o, unless and Charlize Theron.
Well, she's in Black Panther.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Why am I? And Charlize Theron. What's her character's name in Doctor Strange?
Scrimbly.
Oh,
Ricky Tikki Tacky.
Ricky Taki.
I know the
Dorothy
name.
Like
Mom
one
is-
word. It's like not Siri. It's Clea.
Clea. Yeah.
Clea.
Thank you, Miguel.
It's so like
Or Matt
every
Moo's
single
daughter.
person on this list has an MCU or a DC connection.
which is crazy because none of that is cinema.
And yet, none of that is cinema.
Well.
Anyway, guys,
Done. Well done, Chris.
question is for you. What do you think about Charlize Theron adding to this already incredibly stacked list for Christopher Nolan's upcoming film. Do you have some theories about what it could be? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.
I mean, that movie's gonna be so good. I'm gonna sing in the theater when I'm watching it.
Oh boy.
Which leads us
Yes.
into this. Just for the record, lest anybody think, oh, John's Dwayne Johnson hater. I love Dwayne Johnson. I love the dude. I'm always entertained by him when I watch him on screen. He's not always in the best stuff, no, but I'm always entertained by him. I'm very lucky that I've had the opportunity to actually sit down, get together with him, hang out with him a little bit on several occasions, and he's always been one of the absolute nicest people I've ever met, and I will always cheer for him. I will. I'm a big fan. That doesn't mean you can't say something really stupid sometimes. And Dwayne Johnson, for a movie star in the movie industry, making comments about the movie-going experience, has just said one of the dumbest things you can possibly say. Now, you guys know, there's some discussion's been going on about, hey, Wicked is out there, Moana's coming, like, should you sing along in the audience? Our general feelings is no, you should not. Like, you got to respect the people around you. And then Wicked has scheduled sing-along screenings that are coming. There's going to be specific sing-along screenings for Moana and stuff like that. Well, Dwayne Johnson doesn't think so. He thinks you should just sing right along. No, screw anybody around you.
If you feel it, sing it.
Well done, both of you. Wow, you guys are
We're having a
on
great
fire today.
fire.
2 cups of coffee.
All right. This comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment, who wrote this. Dwayne Johnson is telling audiences to sing in the movie theater if they wish. The A-list actor and producer is reprising his voice role of the demigod Maui in Disney's animated musical sequel, Moana 2, in theaters November 27th. The blockbuster opening of Wicked sparked a debate on whether or not moviegoers should be able to sing out loud during a musical film. Some theaters, like the ones I was in, outright asked for patrons please refrain from singing, which is the considerate thing to do, during Wicked, for instance. But Johnson feels differently, telling the BBC on Moana 2's red carpet, sing! You paid your hard-earned money for a ticket, and if you've gone into a musical and you're into it, sing.
Especially at Broadway theaters, too. Do that.
I literally am going to bring this up as a point of contention.
I was just saying, you know what? If I'm
Had that
and
happen to
I've
me
gone
last
to see
year.
Hamilton, if I'm sitting down to watch Hamilton in a local theater and there's a production of Hamilton going on, and some jackass beside me starts going, "Not throwing away my shot, just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing." I'm gonna slap my dick across his face and say, "Shut the fuck up,"
Why-
because
why?
I paid a lot of money.
Why,
That might get you kicked out, too, though.
That might get me kicked out. Not sure.
why is that your first move?
That seems like an escalation, John.
There's
That
a bigger
seems like
problem.
a crime.
What if
There's a
he...
much more bigger problem.
What if,
Why-
That might lead to other things that.
and what do
Yeah.
they do in escalation
So
from
everyone
there?
who's listening, please don't do that. We don't want dick slapping ever in theaters.
No.
Anyways, go
Why
ahead,
is
John.
that
Sorry.
always your first
I
move?
probably prefer the singing.
Okay, but you gotta teach me a lesson. Show me you're serious. You gotta show me you're serious. Like, I get it. Dwayne says, you paid your money. You know who else paid their money? The people who just went in there to watch a movie. And to hear, like, I've never seen the Wicked stage show, so when I'm in my first screening of it, I want to hear Cynthia Erivo singing. I want to hear Ariana Grande singing. I want to hear the background singer singing. I don't want to hear fucking Stiffy Magoo beside me belting out in his half-drunk voice.
Oh,
I'm not there for that.
But if you're feeling it, come on.
I don't want to hear it. Other than the prices today, the number one complaint a lot of movie theater goers have is distraction from other moviegoers, whether it's talking or phones or stuff like that. And one of the biggest movie stars in the world is now coming out saying, yeah, fuck everybody around you. Just sing. Doesn't matter. They paid their hard money, but who cares about them? Go ahead and sing. That is a recipe for violence. That should not happen.
Ooh.
You don't do that.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna bring this up without really thinking about it. So if I look dumb, like, I'm sorry, but what like when there's a sad movie and people are sobbing out loud, or when there's a comedy and people are just laughing hysterically because the movie's giving you
Yeah,
that.
that's the
what's the
reaction.
difference? What's the difference?
Because you're
And-
laughing in a few seconds. You're not
yeah,
singing
it's like
verse
a
for-
caused emotion, right?
It would be the
Yeah,
same.
It's a cause, and it's not when you're singing, you are choosing to
It would
do
be
that.
more akin to like the dialogue of the movie, so you just start speaking the dialogue of the movie.
That's exactly what I was going to say,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Like, if I'm sitting down, if I go to watch a new screening of Star Wars, like, what do you think, Dwayne? Like, the guy next to me is like, TK421, why did you post? And just sing it along with them?
Yeah.
TK421, could you copy? I think we got a bad transmitter. I'll go see what I can. You're going to turn to the guy and say, shut the fuck up. I'm watching the movie.
That's the
Yeah.
worst. I was in the theater where someone had watched a movie already, and they were like near me, and before any like surprises happened, they would go to their friend like, oh, what's up? You know, and that was the most horrible experience. I didn't say anything, but I can understand that.
You gotta be bad if you're pissing Ray off in a movie
Yeah.
theater.
No, because
so
it was like they're like,
patient.
oh, watch this, and then so I knew something was going to happen, and
Yeah, it blows
that
for you.
that part was taken away from me. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of disruptions I do not like in the
Now,
theater. But
I listen, I give AMC a hard time a lot of things, but I do want to give credit where credit's due. AMC spokesperson, this is also in that report. AMC theater spokesperson Ryan Noonan, who I worked with, by the way, he's been there for a long time. In response to what Dwayne said, during Wicked's opening weekend, that the theater chain asked moviegoers not to sing during the musical to prevent screening disturbances. This is what he said. AMC has a long-standing policy that prohibits disruptive behavior. He told the publication, the Wicked's pre-show spot, which includes no singing, incorporates the themes of the film as a fun, engaging reminder to moviegoers not to disrupt the experience for those around them as they enjoy the show. Look, you go in to watch Avengers Endgame, you cheer, you gasp, whatever, but don't start yelling out the dialogue along with Robert Downey Jr. I love you too. Like you don't start running. You don't do that because you're distracting from the movie. Reaction is one thing, but then like trying to make yourself, inserting yourself into it. Yes, Dwayne, people paid their money to go, but that includes everybody else in the theater who paid their money to go and watch in a distraction-free environment. So don't tell people to sing in non-singing along screenings. They are dedicating screenings to that. They're going to give you full screenings that are just so you can go in there and sing along. And I bet those will be a blast. But this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a very smart guy say. And I honestly think he should walk this back because this is one of the biggest problems for audiences today. They don't like distractions in the theaters, and you got to take that away. Anyway, Chris, you heard about that. What's your reaction to
I
this?
hate this so much. I hate this so much. And I love him. He's great. I like his tequila so much too. He's fabulous. But you guys have heard me go on and on and on about how horrible my movie theater going experiences have been when I see any movie past 7 p.m. It's like everyone goes feral. And I don't know what happens. Amy and I were talking about this on our podcast where she had to lean forward and ask somebody to get off Instagram Reels while she was watching a movie. Like, behavior in movie theaters is so bad already, and now you're going to add, hey, just sing if you want to.
And why would you pay that kind of money to then like just look at your phone? You just paid
Yeah.
$20 probably.
I love the hubris of someone going, you know who's a better singer than Cynthia Erivo? Me. I'm going to do that vocal trill at the end.
These people don't want to hear Cynthia.
That
Erivo.
thing-
They
that-
wanna
They wanna hear me.
Ironically, that
discovered
same
somehow.
person's really good at Photoshop
Discovered somehow.
or just mediocre at
They won.
Photoshop.
Look,
I went and saw Ain't Too Proud to Beg last year on Broadway with my mom. We have a tradition every year of going to go see a Broadway show in New York. And that is a jukebox musical, right? Where it's all these songs from the Temptations talking about the life and times of the Temptations. And three women behind me thought they should sing the entire time. And I paid so much money for us to go see this show. And I turned around and told them, I'm not here to listen to you sing. I
damn.
need you to
And
stop.
rightfully so. They
And
should
that's what I
tell
do in
them
movie
that.
theaters too. And I don't care when people think I'm rude. You're being rude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
You are
paid
the
to
problem.
be here to watch this movie, not
Chris-
to hear you.
Yeah.
Like,
Chris,
listen, to Ray, you brought up a really good point about like the cheering and stuff like that. There are moments in movies that the movie is designing to get that reaction from you. They tell a joke here to get you to laugh. They have a moment here that because they want to elicit sadness and weeping from you. That's a part of the movie. That's something the movie is trying to get out of you. What they are not trying to do is to have you talk along with the dialogue just because you've already seen the movie, or sing along the songs that other people are trying to hear the singers on the screen sing.
It's being considerate and respectful.
It's just being basic
Common
consideration,
sense, right?
Yes.
To Chris's story, you got 2 performances for the price of 1, is what I'm saying.
I'm going to let you know right now, me hearing those old white ladies behind me butcher and murder the Temptations was not what I wanted.
I'm going to bring up one movie that's coming up that we're probably going to see in the theater. Michael Jackson. His music has been a part of my life since I was young. I'm not saying I'm going to sing, but if one of those songs comes up, I'm going to have a hard time not dancing in my seat. You know what I mean? And I hope
you better not dance. I don't even want to see you. Let's go.
You know, I love good music. Good, and we're gonna hear some good music.
When
listen, man,
dancing,
if you
talking
sing
about shoulder shimmering or standing
just
up in
shoulder
your chair,
but I'm actually refraining
No
from
fun allowed.
actually maybe even wanting to get up and like, woo.
Ray, if you sing at the Michael Jackson movie, I'm going to tell you to beat it.
I'm not. Oh God, dude,
jeez.
you really
Oh, no.
ruined your last.
We
You
got to
were
be
on
really
such a good
specific
roll.
with
Yeah,
what you mean
you
by beat
ruined
it,
it.
because dick slapping already got brought up.
You
Okay?
ruined it, but like that's what I'm saying. There's I love how movies can get people going in good ways, bad ways, but singing it's a choice that you make, and not being
poor
aware
choice.
of your surroundings is just rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and again, they are going to accommodate you. They are going to have screenings that are specifically for sing-along screenings where people going into it know that the audience is going to be sing-along too, so you know what you're getting into. That's there for you. So yeah, just be considerate of the other moviegoers around you.
And you're going to see Moana 2 later.
Yeah, today.
Imagine if people already knew the music to that and rock.
Fortunately,
just
they
led
don't.
them.
You know what I'm going to do.
What kind of
You know
what
Well-
kind of are you going to walk into? You know what I mean? So I know what you're going. Okay, I just
You
got
know
that.
what's going to happen.
Be
So
mindful of
I'll
the age
do that and then
demographic.
say you're welcome. So yeah,
Oh
anyway.
my God. Hey, do you think he's playing like 4D chess here? He's like, yeah, I'll blow everybody's like enjoyment at Wicked, and then
They'll all go see
they'll all
Moana
go see
too.
Moana.
Well, they better not, because remember
Ooh.
he's got his live action Moana coming. Do you want people staying away from that too? Because too many people are singing, the Moana songs. I
Right.
mean, it's just for a high profile movie star to encourage the behavior that most movie fans say is keeping them away from
Right.
the movie theaters. I mean, look, we're joking and we're laughing
Right.
about it, but seriously, this is a serious problem. A high-profile movie star encouraging behavior that a lot of movie fans say keep them away from the theaters. That's a bad thing for business. It's a bad thing for the industry, and he should know better. I love Dwayne, I
Me
do,
too.
but he should know better, and I actually think he should walk this back. I think he should say something and walk this back.
But at the heart of it, he is kind of saying like, have a good time. But if your good time is ruining it for others, then
Yeah.
there's a
It's disrespectful.
that's disrespectful. So like I get what he's saying. I love The Rock too. Like have a good time. You paid for your ticket, but in certain situations, it ruins it for a lot of the people, and that's where you have to be mindful and
Yeah,
respectful.
and you got to draw a line. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of Dwayne Johnson's comments saying, screw everybody else, go sing? I mean, obviously, you know how I feel about it.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Some people just want to see the
Sing
world
with your
burn.
dicks out. Come
Whatever
on.
you guys think,
No, Ray.
jump out in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to move on now to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment to thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. I'm wearing them right now, our friends at The Perfect Gene. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Gene. So the colder season is here, and guess what? I am living in the perfect jean. These jeans are super stretchy, soft, and totally trick people into thinking I've got my life together. And I'm telling you this because I actually love them. These are absolutely, no questions asked, my favorite jeans that I have ever owned. And yes, the folks over at The Perfect Jean are paying me to say that, but it's still absolutely true. These are my favorite jeans ever. These jeans have enough stretch to accommodate Thanksgiving dinner and are comfy enough to wear all day watching Sunday football. Plus, even though they feel like sweatpants, they look good enough to be your go-to pants for date night. And listen, the Perfect Jean isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code CAMPEA. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the Perfect Jean. And thank you to our friends at the Perfect Jean for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the important stuff. Your comments and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
We got Gavin, who says, question 1 or 2. Hey, John, have you ever, or no, sorry, this is just one completed, but hey, John, have whatever happened to the Mint Mobile hotline questions? You might have already addressed it before, but I was curious as to why they stopped.
Yeah, so basically, here's the thing. When we bring on a sponsor, and this is across almost all podcasts, all YouTube channels, right? Sponsors will sign up for a limited time, right? Like for 8 spots, 6 spots, sometimes 10 spots, right? For like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks that are staggered, you know, a week here, then a week in another month, a week in another month, whatever. Mint Mobile became our title sponsor for 3 years straight. Now, the reason why like most sponsors only do like 6, 8, 10 is because at that point, then they've reached that podcast's audience and there's no point still going. But they just loved working with us so much. We loved working with them. Of course, you know, Ryan Reynolds connection and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. And as a part of them being our title sponsor for 3 full years, we had a dedicated segment called the Mint Mobile Hotline. It was great. But, you know, after 3 years, they're no longer, and which is, again, they went 10 times longer than most sponsors do. Mm-hmm. They are no longer our title sponsor. They are still great. We still have a working relationship with them. They're still my mobile service provider. But since they're no longer our title sponsor, we no longer have the Mint Mobile Hotline question of the day. So that's where that went. All right. What's next?
Gavin says, John, we know Disney spends big money for their Disney Plus shows, yet most of them feel cheap. What's the main issue? Is it the writing, acting, sets, episode count, episode lengths, hate holding these shows back?
I mean, Andor certainly didn't feel cheap. I mean, it all depends. Some of their shows feel cheap. Like, for instance, Acolyte. I mean, the quality of Acolyte aside, like we heard, that was an expensive show, and I did not see it.
I think a lot of it is overuse on the volume. Mm-hmm. The volume is a great tool.
But the volume is also a cost saver, right? Instead of having to build too many sets or do what, like they have the volume.
Yeah.
Right? And that's supposed to save
Well,
you
I'm just
money.
talking to the aesthetic. When you lean heavily on the volume, you have moments where Darth Vader and Obi-Wan are facing off and oops, there's some fire right in front of me. Well, the stage doesn't allow Darth Vader to walk around the fire to get to Obi-Wan, so he's got to just let him go. And that looks cheap. And
sure, but then why isn't it cheap?
Right.
So like why are you doing the things that are saving you money and that your thing is still so expensive? I honestly don't know. It's not, the writing doesn't make it look cheap.
Yeah.
That's not a writing thing. So I don't know. I would love to get into their books and sit down. Like they need a good line producer. Mm-hmm. That's what they need. Because
there's a race for content. Oh, sorry, John.
I think you're onto something there, though.
What were you gonna say?
There's a race for quantity of content at that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of decisions were, and people couldn't take their time on these things. And I'm not trying to make an excuse, but it feels like with Marvel and Star Wars, when Chapek was there, they were not to say under the gun to release, to get Disney Plus off.
Yeah, they were pushing stuff.
And we saw from the first showings of Star Wars and Marvel WandaVision, what was the first Star Wars show that they gave us?
Mando,
I don't know.
Mandalorian. Yeah.
It was both of them were great, but immediately it started going downhill for both. Like and then there would be
it
some
doesn't-
wins
that-
in the
but
middle.
that's a quality issue, right? Like it doesn't
Right.
just like, why was it still so expensive though?
Oh, okay.
Like,
So we're talking about
why? Like
yeah,
he's asking,
I have no idea.
why are things so expensive and yet not looking expensive at all? And
Were people taking advantage of like the budget and like, oh, they're not gonna care?
yeah,
Like, they
bad
just want a Star
budgeting.
Wars
I don't
show.
know. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Sir Z says, thank you all for the great show. I listened to you guys at 11 a.m. while at the gym. Ray, you're the Dawn. I'm also Team Blade 2026. Question, have any of you heard about the Thundercats movie? Apparently Adam Wingard will be the director.
I remember we talked about this a while ago. I don't actually think that's going to come to fruition.
Oh.
I hope it does. We've been waiting. I think a Thundercats movie done right could have a lot of potential. And I like Adam Wingard as a director for it. I mean, not my first pick, but I think a solid choice. But you have to understand, guys, I've been doing this for like 20 years. And for 20 years, I mean, back in the movie blog days, we were talking about the latest report and rumors that they're trying to put together, pardon me, a Thundercats movie. And it's never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe this time it does. I just don't actually believe it's happening until we get set photos of them actually shooting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did Wingard do a kaiju movie? Or like one of the kaiju movies? I had to look that up. But if they do Thundercats, I really think I'm gonna die soon, because that would be my triangle of like
sadness
things I
or
want.
what? Because you're gonna
He-Man, Voltron, and Thundercats were my childhood. And if they make that movie, Amazon, let's do it. I could die peacefully.
Well, I mean, he did Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay.
The new Empire. I mean, where I got to see a kaiju suplex another kaiju. I mean, that's all I was asking for. He did the absolutely horrible Death Note on Netflix. That was terrible.
That was so bad.
Keyword Netflix.
Yeah. He did
That Blair
Your
Witch
Next,
remake,
which I didn't totally hate. By the way, I was the for his movie Your Next, I was the moderator of the very first screening of Your Next with him and a couple of cast members at CinemaCon or at Comic-Con like 8 years ago. So I got to be there and I got to do the Q&A with him, and that was pretty cool. So again, I just don't think that's going to happen. All right, what's next?
We got Vooks, who says, "Hey John, I know in the past you said Arcane might be your favorite animated show so far. Well,
It is.
Season 2 dropped. I was wondering if you had a chance to view it. Reviews have been incredible, with one of the highest ratings I've seen for the full season."
Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. I very much enjoyed season 2. I do not love the final 3 episodes. My main problem with the final 3 episodes, and I didn't hate it. And I still think the season 2 was great. I really enjoyed season 2 as a whole. The reason I didn't love it as much as I did season 1 is because, and I mentioned this yesterday, I'll say it again here quickly. After I finished watching season 2, I went back to watch episode 1 of season 1 again. The real strength of the show, and the show was built on this idea of Vi and Jinx, and I always mispronounce the name of the town, Piltover. Is that the name of the city? Piltover? Anyway, the whole dynamic of Piltover, where you had the upper caste and the lower caste, and the tension between and the conflict between them. And Jinx and Vi became the representation of that, with some great supporting characters to add layers to the story. The problem I had, especially getting towards the end of Arcane in season 2, was they kind of moved further and further away from it. It wasn't about Vi and Jinx anymore. I mean, really, the last 3 episodes are about Victor and Jace. It's not really about... And then when you get into the big final conflict, Vi and Jinx were just some afterthought. They were just off doing something that was really not important to the story overall, where the real action and the main thing that was bringing everything to a conclusion was with other characters. And then all of a sudden, the caste system thing was thrown aside. Yeah, I didn't love the way it ended, but I still thought overall the season was great. Still my favorite animated show of all time, and I just thought it could have ended stronger. That's all. All right, what's next?
Banana and onion juice. Yuck. Hi, John. You are right that Lion King is not live action. However, sharing the spectrum of animated categories would be helpful for people to communicate. It's photorealistic animation is an appropriate term as opposed to hand-drawn animation.
We haven't had hand-drawn animation in forever.
But photorealistic versus like Toy Story, that type of animation.
Yeah, but again, that's still animation done in a computer.
Yeah.
It's just that you're rendering it out differently.
Yeah.
The whole argument, I'm sorry, you sound like an idiot if you say that the Lion King movie was live action.
Yeah, okay.
Because, okay, when did you take a camera to set? Oh, never? Then it's not live action. The movie was made in a computer by artists. It's an animated movie. The render may be photorealistic, but it is nonetheless an animated movie. And I just think you sound stupid every time I hear somebody call that Lion King a live action thing. It's not live action,
It's
though.
pure marketing.
It's not live action. It's an animated film. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Say My Name says, my name is actually based on the Breaking Bad scene. Say my name. You know what it is. Say it. Heisenberg. It's one of my favorite, along with the barn scene in Walking Dead and the morning, noon, and night scene in The Crown. Do you have any like favorite scenes?
Favorite scenes from a show? Oh, I'm sure.
Probably a lot. I mean,
several from Battlestar Galactica, several from Sons of Anarchy, several from Spartacus, several from West Wing. But like I don't walk around with a list of them off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
I loved an Acolyte when she was like, "Fight me."
Oh God.
God.
You know what's one like an oh my God moment for me was in Battlestar Galactica. I think it was the end of season 2 or 3. I can't remember, when all these characters, they start hearing Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower in their head. And you're like, how are they singing All Along the Watchtower? And it was like mind blown. And then like the Cylons are revealed. And I'm like, what? Like that was a huge thing.
I mean, there was a lot of scenes in like Mad Men that got me like that.
Oh, Mad Men had some great one.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
DJ says, one of the challenges with the Superman movie is that he's so powerful. I know you don't watch them, but in some of the animated films, I think they make him weaker to fall more in line with the Justice League and villains. Do you think Gunn will consider this?
It's a very good question.
Yep.
I mean, that is always that is the eternal conundrum of trying to create an interesting Superman story. He is a god. Essentially, he is like, I mean, hell, in Christopher Reeve's thing, he literally flies so fast around the earth the other way, it makes the earth rotate the other way, which, by the way, would have just ripped the planet in half. And that turned back time, utterly ridiculous. But still, like, he's basically, there's a great scene in Superman Returns, which is a very maligned movie, a movie that I contend Superman Returns is a very good movie. That's a very bad comic book movie. You can think about that if you want, but
no, I won't.
There's a great
that'll make my head hurt. But go.
There's a great moment in it though that really epitomizes the problem with that facing anybody trying to tell a Superman story, where Brandon Routh is just floating in space and is literally just listening to everybody on Earth. He can hear everything, and it's like, how do you tell a compelling story when the core of every story is man versus, right? Man versus man, man versus nature, whatever. Like, when that's the core of storytelling, how do you do that interesting with a character that nothing can stand against him? That's why I initially thought Superman and Lois was really interesting, because it's like, how does Superman, guess what? All that super strength doesn't help you be a dad.
Yeah. And
facing the problems and the troubles you're going to, and I thought that was fascinating. So, but understanding, Chris, to me, James Gunn, when he's talking about his influences, it's all the old, like the Superman stories and like I don't think they're going to nerf him.
No.
But I don't think we're going to see a Superman that's, say, as powerful as the Superman in, say, Injustice Gods Among Us.
Yeah.
Who can literally kill all the other superheroes. I don't know. How do you think he's going to approach that?
Well, I think especially with the other characters and villains that have been mentioned thus far, too. You know, bringing in the Authority, who all can go toe-to-toe. And when I say villain, too, I mean using that as kind of a blanket term because they have a different perspective on how to bring about authority, right? I think they're pairing him up with characters who can stand up to him, and it's going to be actually interesting fights, as opposed to, you know, a hero situation where you have to start neutering and figuring out how you can, you know, crutch your character, basically. There's a whole bunch of people. Superman has an amazing pantheon to deal with, so I think James Gunn has the right ideas here, and I just love how we're always talking about how many problems this movie potentially has when we've seen nothing.
But don't you think it'll fail?
But
what I mean is
probably
like
be
the challenges facing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and for James Gunn to come out and start with a Superman film, much like Zack Snyder did, it's a big swing. Mm-hmm. It's a real big swing. All right, what's next?
DJ says took my mother-in-law to watch Wicked. When it ended, her reaction killed me. Is that it? She thought it was going to come full circle to the start of Wizard of Oz. When I explained we had been here for 2.5 hours, she was shocked. She said, "Okay, but it still felt short."
I gotta say, this Wicked was one of those films where I did not feel the runtime.
Oh,
it's a long movie. It's a really long movie, but I didn't feel the runtime. It had such a crisp pace throughout all of it. I never felt it drag. And, you know, I like movies that aim for like the 2-hour mark, but again, some movies just feel better when they're longer and some just have a better feel when they're shorter. And this was one that had its right runtime. And, you know, one of the things that I love about Wicked, I don't know if I've mentioned this, is the fact that it starts with the end of Wizard of Oz. I love that, actually. Like, here's what immediately happens after the end of Wizard of Oz, and then it takes you back. And I really, really like that. So, again, and I'm somebody who's never seen the Broadway show, so I can't wait to see Wicked 2 and see where they go. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, if you do watch Wolf Hall, you should also view The Hollow Crown, which is stacked with actors Judi Dench, Patrick Stewart, Benedict Cumberbatch, etc. It's based on Shakespeare's plays, Richard II and Richard III. It's sword fights, castles, and real Game of Thrones.
I can honestly say I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. But that sounds, everything you just said sounds good to me, so I'll keep my eye open for it. Thank you, man. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hey, John, what's the point of rebooting DCU if you consider 450 or 500 for Superman a success? Neither Supergirl or Swamp Thing will get better box office. So what's the point? I think at least it should get the Batman numbers in the post-COVID era of 770.
Do I have to explain this again?
Yes.
yes, please.
I mean, it's your show. Do what you want.
The point of rebooting the DCU was that 400 and something was no longer the standard. The movies were now making 200
and less,
right? They had literally run, the DCEU was literally run into the ground, and no audiences were going to see the movies anymore. That is a reality that James Gunn now has to face in trying to start a brand new rendition to bring the audience back. You have to start that journey, and you have to understand that first Superman movie is still going to have to deal with a lot of the mistrust from the movie-going audience that gave up on and abandoned DC. Superman is the movie that has to start winning back trust. I use the term rehabilitate. They've got to rehabilitate the image of DC. And that means the number one job of this first movie is not to be a big financial hit. It's great if it is, but the number one job of this movie is to lay the groundwork. To say, hey guys, listen, we understand there were problems with the DCEU, but that's in our rearview mirror. This is something new, and this is the quality that you can expect. That's the number one job James Gunn faces. He's got to make this movie very good, because it has to start that process of rehabilitating the image. They're not thinking about the financial success of this one movie. They're thinking about the financial success of the next 20. And the only way you're going to start to set up the next 20 movies for success is if you start strong. Understand that not everybody's going to run out to see it, but the people that do come to see it better love it. The critics got to like it, the audience has got to like it, and the word has to start generating that, oh, you know what? The DC is back. That's the job. You're a fool if you think Superman's going to come out after Like nobody went to go see Flash. Nobody went to see Black Adam. Nobody went to go see Blue Beetle. That you had this massive diminishing return on the DC. You're a fool if you think they're just going to do the next DC movie and it's going to make $1 billion. That's not how the movie going audience works. There's going to be a lot of them that won't go to see this new Superman movie, and that's okay if they can make this movie great and start setting up the future movies for success. That's what it's about. It's short-sighted to look at the results of this movie. It's a long-term view. It's a strategy when you start thinking 5 moves ahead. And you set up the future movies for more success if you make this movie great. And you don't sweat it if this movie doesn't do financially great. That's okay. Because that's not what the primary job of this movie is. The primary job of this movie is to change the perception of DC on screen. That's its job, to set it up for success later on. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Oh, Anonymous says, I don't think we need Superman swearing, but I'd love it if at the end of the Lobo movie or Peacemaker season 2, we just hear him muttering under his breath, "Can't believe this effing guy," or something. I think it would be hilarious.
But out of character. So that would feel forced, right? That would feel forced. And so now, if you set it up though, right? Like earlier in the film, like you hear say Guy Gardner. Who would be a real problem? Well, Guy Gardner is the problematic character. So let's you get Guy Gardner and like Hot Girl. It's something like Guy Gardner says something really asinine, and Hot Girl's like, "Can't believe this fucking guy," and Superman hears her. And then later in the movie, like near the end, Guy Gardner does something really asinine again, and then Superman goes, "I can't believe this fucking guy." Okay, you set it up maybe, but unless you set it up properly, you could feel out of character and therefore a little forced.
You just spoiled it, John. Don't spoil the movie.
Yeah, spoilers.
All right, what's next?
Saw Red One, and overall was a solid Christmas movie that had heart and spirit despite its eye-rolling moments, especially the third act. Rock was rock. Chris Evans was a standout. Definitely good time despite nobody in the theater besides me and 2 other people.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things. I did talk to some friends of mine yesterday who did see Red One and said they enjoyed it. They had a good time. Did you and Logan ever get out? We
still haven't gone to see it. I have heard that it's stupid fun,
Yes.
which is very much my brand. So
Yes.
I'm excited to go see it eventually.
I am not excited to see it, which sucks because I love The Rock and I love
Yeah.
Chris Evans. But maybe if I hear more people say such good things, maybe I'll give it a shot. All right, what's next?
Raymond says, attending Fan Expo San Francisco this Saturday.
Nice.
Some of the guests are Hayden Christensen, Manny Jacinto, Grant Gustin, Charlie Cox, and Kate Mulgrew. Anything do you want to ask during the panels? I know they won't say anything if they are doing an upcoming project.
No, I can't think of anything I'd want to ask you. By the way, Hayden Christensen, good Canadian kid. I know Grant Gustin's been doing a lot of stage performing.
That's we're gonna go see the show that he just exited from when we're in New York, Water for Elephants.
Oh, but
Yeah.
you're not going to see him in it?
No, he just left.
Yeah.
But Logan's mentor, the guy who taught him like breath and dialects and got him to become a dialect coach, he made his Broadway debut this year in this show at 65.
Oh, wow.
So we get to go see him in it, which we're
That
really
is
excited.
so
And he says
cool.
that Grant is really lovely. He has a whole bunch of great little videos with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Caitlin's Cupcakes. Arcane showrunner Christian Link said on Twitch that the Caitlin V scene in episode 8 was originally longer and more explicit. Rob has entered the chat, but they had to cut it shorter and cleaner so that the game wouldn't risk being banned in some countries.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to Chris about this a little bit earlier because Chris watches Arcane as well. I was surprised to read that because the scene in question, the sex scene between Caitlin and Vi, is pretty graphic and pretty intense. And reading the showrunner saying, "Oh yeah, it was a lot longer and a lot more graphic, and we got our wrists slapped, and we had to cut it down."
Sounds like Team
I'm like,
America.
Really? Like it was more graphic than that? I mean, I won't describe what happens in it, but I thought it was pretty much pushing it for what we saw. So I'm like, how far did you go? Anyway, you know what? Look, I love the filthy. By all means, bring on all the filthy you can. That being said, I thought the scene was great, expressing just the pure passion between them and the visceral, animalistic kind of thing. And they just, in the midst of all this turmoil, they just gave into doing whatever they want to do. And I thought it came across great. It was intense. It was passionate. It was sexy. It was all that kind of stuff. I don't think it needed to be anymore. So I was kind of surprised to hear that it was longer and more graphic, but we got guys in the live chat saying director's cut.
Hey.
But yeah, there you go. All right, what's next?
Dr. Stinky says, "Hey crew, they raised the prices of XD at my local Cinemark, now 16. On top of that, I'm a movie club member. With that comes online waived fees, but they tack $2, making it 18 per ticket. I love the theater experience. I just can't afford it. XD. So is that
That's my
Regal or
Wait a minute. It's $16, but because you're a movie club member, they charge you extra?
because it's
So
it's
you get a smaller charge when you go see XD. So if I go see a regular movie at Regal with my pass, I don't pay anything except for like a convenience fee sometimes. I think it's like 50 cents. But if I want to go see an XD movie or a 3D movie, 3D starts, I think, at an extra $3. XD starts at an extra $6.
Right. But you're only paying $3 or $6.
Yeah.
He's saying he's got to pay 16 plus $2 extra. So he's paying $18.
That's insane. You
That
also
doesn't
might not
sound-
be
that
signed
doesn't
into your
sound
app
right.
correctly.
Yeah,
Because
I mean-
it's $24 for the month for unlimited movies.
Right.
Plus then whatever you do for the
price of
like
16 on
higher
top of
things.
that movie club
And
members.
so
that's
I would
pretty-
recommend looking into I think Chris is right. I think you're probably not using the app properly. If being the member is making you pay
Yeah, 'cause
more,
you'll be paying at that rate. You're paying the full price, which you shouldn't be.
you're paying full
Exactly.
price plus more.
The
Yeah.
app logs you out a lot, so double check that. And you can also always go talk to the lovely people at Regal, and they'll help fix that for you.
Yeah.
You also will accumulate points, so you can use those points to help get to see those XD things
Right.
for free.
you
I would recommend if you live anywhere near an AMC theater, it's $25 a month, 12 free movies a month. That includes IMAX, 3D, Prime, Dolby,
Cinema.
like everything. No extra tack on, no extra charges.
no
just-
singing.
No singing.
Yeah.
Singing, that's the big one.
No singing.
No slapping of any kind.
But yeah, I think Chris nailed it. I think you should double check, make sure you're using the app right, because you should only be paying the $2 extra, not the ticket price plus $2 extra. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Wrong shot. Dr. B says, if we treat Craven like a Fall Guy prequel, I think it'll be a great movie. Because he's like the actor.
Yeah, he forgot he was in
That's
it.
actually pretty genius.
Ricky Tikki Tacky.
Ricky Tiki Taki, who was so good in Fall Guy. I actually loved his character in Fall Guy. Again, listen, this movie's going to do very badly, but I still have hope it's going to be good. And I base that on the fact that compared to Morbius and Madam Web, they have a much better, more appropriate writer for the film and a much better director for the film. That's the building blocks of the movie. So, it's not being made by the same people who made Madam Web and Morbius. This is different creative people who I think this looks like it's going to be fun. Do I think it's going to be an Oscar contender? No. But do I think it's going to be one of the great comic book movies? No. But I think it's going to be fun. So, again, written by the guy who wrote Denzel Washington's Equalizer movies. I like those movies. So, it's going to flop, but I think it's going to be fun. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
Sean says, I'm a 3D artist. I want to make a 3D cartoon for kids. Do you have any tips? I'll be making it all myself, from the storyboards, the voice acting. Problem is I'm too ambitious and often bite off more than I can chew. Much love.
I mean, if your goal here is to create an online YouTube series and stuff like that, I mean, the best tip is to just focus all of your attention on writing it first, and just make sure it's exactly the way you want, and then go.
And also get Chris as a voice actor.
And hire Chris, but it sounds like he's trying to save money.
I was
But
going to say, yeah.
Well, I mean, save all your money for Chris. Then. That's
if
where the
you-
budget should go.
If you do want to get voice actors, though, who are looking for experience, who haven't worked on something before and they're trying to build up their resume, you can use things like castingcall.club, and you can put out there a casting notice, and there's plenty of actors who are trying to get resume credits. So that's a great way for you to do that if doing all the voices yourself is a little too much to have on your plate.
all right, what's next?
I I don't know a name says, Happy Tuesday crew was having a debate with a friend. So can everyone share their opinion on what is most iconic horror scenes, and can a Star Wars horror film ever work?
Sure.
I think elements of horror can work in Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were saying a little bit earlier, Star Wars is a super big, vast universe. You should have every kind of movie in there.
Yeah.
There's absolutely room for Star Wars horror. 100% there is. As far as the most iconic horror scene, I don't know. I don't walk around.
I mean,
with
yeah,
that.
you'd have to give us ones to vote on.
I was gonna say, finally, a question for me.
Yeah.
I'll give one that actually freaks me out till this day.
Yeah.
I believe it's the Grudge remake, the American remake, and
Right.
she looks down the staircase and you just see the hand, like the girl coming up. Just the terror of that. I cannot go into any fire escape without looking at the stairs, the stair railings going down. Even at Burbank at the parking garage, I just that scene just hits me.
Just that creepy.
Yeah.
You know, it all depends what you consider a horror movie, but a lot of people consider Jaws a horror movie. Like, you're going to need a bigger boat is one of the all-time greatest moments in cinema, like, regardless. So that's a pretty big one. All right, what's next?
Slade Wilson says, who's an actor or actress working today that you think is criminally underrated? We always hear about the big stars, but I feel like there are so many fantastic performances that go unrecognized. Would love to hear y'all's opinion.
Well, I mean, we often talk about, when we're talking about underrated actors or actresses, like a big one, even though he was nominated for an Oscar once, no one ever talks about Chiwetel Ejiofor. I simply think he's one of the best actors in the business. He's fantastic. Ben Foster. I've said for
Ben Foster,
well over
yeah.
10 years, I think Ben Foster is probably the most underrated actor in the business. Like, Ben Foster was literally in a movie with, at the time, two of the greatest high-profile actors in the world, Christian Bale and Russell Crowe in 3:10 to Yuma. And he upstaged them both. He upstaged them both.
He did with Chris Pine, too, in Hell or High Water.
Yeah. Like, he is fabulous. So I think that. Chris, you got anybody you think it's a really underrated performer?
Oh, I don't think enough people know who Sharon Horgan is, the of Bad Sisters.
Oh, okay.
She's wonderful. She's an incredible, incredible actress and writer, and I think more people should know about her.
We spoke yesterday about Mark Rylance, who's like in so many big
He's
things,
a
but
incredible.
like,
world-class actor. Yeah. All right, what's next?
So that's it for tips. Moving on to some member questions. With 2 episodes, with 2 episodes in, thoughts on Silo season 2.
Haven't started watching it yet.
Yeah.
I've been caught up or getting use a lot of football this week with Dune Prophecy, with Arcane, so I haven't had a chance to start watching the new season yet. Have you?
Oh, it's good.
Is it?
Okay,
Yeah.
I
so
really like
Yeah.
season 1.
It got better from the first episode.
Because first episode was a little slow.
Yeah, you warned me about that.
Yeah, because it is a lot of her just exploring, and so there's not a lot of dialogue or anything. There's some flashbacks in it, and then episode 2, we go back to the silo, the one that we have
Okay,
grown to
good,
know.
good.
And we see some more kind of the inner machinations of what's going on there. It's good.
All right, what's next?
We got King Daddy Goat who says, "Hey, John and crew, after the goat." Well, I'll take the compliment, but I don't know about that. Mr. Jonathan Voico recommended Saturday night. I decided to check it out. I really enjoyed it. It really felt like I was part of the show. I encourage others to check it out. Have you seen it yet, John? Thanks. Bring on the filter.
Yeah, I was really late to the party. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. I absolutely love Jason Reitman. I just think he's one of the best filmmaking treasures in the business today. I've loved almost every single movie he's made, and I thought he did real justices. I thought it was really good. All right,
you go.
what's next?
Angel says, in your opinion, who has the better soundtrack, Arcane or Spider-Verse?
Spider-Verse. I really like you know what? And even though I like season 1 of Arcane better than season 2, I still really like season 2. I actually thought the soundtrack for season 2 upped the game over season 1. But I still think the Spider-Verse movies have the better soundtrack. I really do. All right, what's next?
Let's see. We got Quad Face who says, can we get a shout out to the level 4 naughty listers? Who are those? The ones who sing in movie theaters? Jerry says, hi, John and crew. I was thinking of the words that Feige said about seeing the X-Men in the upcoming MCU movies. So I was wondering if you would like that they changed Sentry's origin and made him a mutant.
I'll be honest with you. Yes. You know why? Although, look, like most comic book characters, and Chris, I'd love you to chime in on this. Like most comic book characters, the Sentry has had his origin retold different times, but the base understanding of his origin, that he took a cocktail of a wannabe super soldier serum, and that just happened to turn him into an intergalactic power force that could destroy all reality. Because you jabby.
He was the one. He was Neo.
Yeah. I actually would not mind if you said, no, he was just born different. I wouldn't mind at all. Because I think that's a better origin story for like this galactic level power.
Oh.
Just because he had the right combination of chemicals he injected into his arm.
I just got goosebumps when you said that. It's just because it's coming soon. Yeah,
it's coming.
And I cannot wait to see what they do with him.
So I don't know, Chris, what would you think if they kind of changed that from his origins, saying from, a junkie who injected the wrong thing to being a mutant? What would you think?
I feel like that original origin story is also kind of like #edgy, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something different, which is fine. I do think a lot of times there is an overcomplication of having powers. And sometimes, especially in a world where people just mutate, just have something happen. And I think that's what bogs you down a lot of times is the science isn't sciencing. So why over-explain it and just go, no, they're a superhero. There's already so many fantastical things in this world. I can believe that somebody has powers because they have powers.
Right. My only thought on that is I'm okay with it to a degree. But don't also use the cheat code and be like, we told you you'd see mutants. We're just making historically non-mutant characters mutants. See? Mutant.
That's fair.
So, I mean, but...
There is, John, with the junkie thing like that, there is that mental aspect of just Robert Reynolds, the person himself.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was fighting demons in his head already, which kind of made sense when he got his powers. That's his struggle. But as a superhuman, it'll be interesting to see if they use any of that or they just completely...
Oh, and I hope they do, because I think the key things about his character are those things you're talking about, not that he got a dirty super soldier serum needle and stuck him. Like, I think those things you're talking about, yes, still make him somebody who struggles with addiction. Yes, make him have those inner demons.
But will Marvel do that? Will Marvel hit that drug?
I think so.
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough to say because there's a lot of kids that watch this, and you don't want to... I would rather have...
But
they're not that sensitive.
It's a drugs are bad story,
message.
Yeah.
It's a very effective
They're
dare
not going to be like
program.
that sensitive.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us fun, interesting things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow for the next installment. We'll be reviewing Moana 2, so I hope you'll be here for us. I want to thank Ray Ora.
Slappers!
Jonathan Voico.
I need to start thinking of my intros and outros because he's always going to take the wind out of my sails.
And, of course, Chris Carr.
Don't do any of the theater things that were mentioned here today. Keep it in your pants.
Or else one of the things that was mentioned might happen to you.
No.
My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.